Okay, this is another world-changing video from the Haarp report, and I'm going to prove that Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes can be steered precisely by ionospheric heater technology, formerly known as Haarp. This is Hurricane Joaquin, about a day before it hit the Bahama Islands, September 30th, 2015. And first thing we notice is there's this strange area of linear, concentric roll clouds at the tops of the cloud layer. These are Haarp downburst roll clouds, and we also notice a dark layer where there are no storms, and this is the area of the Haarp downburst. To learn more about this US Navy technology, search my YouTube video, Physics of Ionospheric Heaters Killing the Pacific. This is 3 hours later, and the first set of Haarp roll clouds have moved off the screen and dissipated. But a second one has appeared, and they've maintained the same area of the Haarp downburst. Haarp downburst is my slang phrase for man-made high pressure or descending air in the jet stream. It's caused by precision microwave heating of the D layer in the ionosphere. Later I will give a new name for this effect so we can get away from the old Haarp name. Haarp roll clouds are caused by the horizontal spreading of the downburst. As the descending air hits the more dense layers in the cloud tops, it spreads out radially, forming roll clouds at the leading edge. It is like a rolling pin on a baker's table, but the air spins in the opposite direction from a rolling pin. Roll clouds are common around collapsing thunderstorms, but never occur multiple times in a row if they are natural. The dry air rings are most often seen on water vapor satellite images, but only if NOAA makes a mistake. Each ring in the roll cloud is a historical record of a single downburst of dry air penetrating the jet stream, hitting the cloud tops, and spreading out radially. Haarp roll clouds persist for hours and always move out at a steady speed, just like single natural roll clouds do. Here's a satellite video taken in water vapor mode showing the expanding dry air roll cloud of a Haarp downburst. The fact that the ring is darker proves it contains dry air. White is humid air, black is dry air. Notice it moves steadily and lasts for hours. Personal note, I had several other videos of other roll clouds, but a NOAA JavaScript shuts down my browser whenever I find good evidence, and it happens every time. Yes, NOAA is definitely under classified military control. It is rare to find any Haarp-related images unless their Photoshop contractors make a mistake, like they did in June 2015 with Hurricane Blanca out in the middle of the Pacific. I have trained them well. So let's look at this video. Now you can see a dark expanding ring here. I'll make it faster. This is a circular dark ring spreading away from basically these area of thunderstorms here. About an hour later, it has moved a little bit farther. So it moves very steadily, and 1 day later, in visible light mode, we see this. We actually see 3 expanding Haarp rings destroy a thunderstorm complex. So let me start this over. Okay, here we have a thunderstorm developing that does not suit the desires of the weather gangsters. So we don't know what it would do. Would it break someone's drought? Would it form a hurricane? We don't know, but they do. Now here's the first Haarp ring, and you can see the thunderstorms inside are getting crushed. And it expands. Now we see a second ring behind it, and now even a third ring behind it, and the storms inside that ring are gone. And if we were to follow this storm group, we would see more of these Haarp downbursts, and each time that happens, they're punching a hole in the ozone layer. Okay, back to our presentation. This poor guy at the National Hurricane Center, part of NOAA, has to try and figure this stuff out without being allowed to know about the classified military Wall Street weather extortion program. So he's been given an impossible task to forecast the track of these hurricanes. I think he's a victim just like the rest of us. Hurricane Blanca in June 2015 in the Pacific was used by the US military to test the software which controls hurricane movement using the ionospheric heaters like the US Navy SBX-1 and others. Now let's look at a snapshot of a Haarp downburst on top of Hurricane Blanca on June 4th, 2015. This was out in the Pacific, west of Mexico. This is the eye without color enhancement. The concentric roll clouds are clearly visible. Now with color enhancement and zooming in, it looks really amazing. This is the temperature mode. And let's zoom in. The red color indicates 20 degrees C colder than the green. So they are deliberately putting a thin layer of cold air on the southwest side of this storm. What did this Haarp downburst do to the hurricane? Immediately after this Haarp downburst, the hurricane moved quickly to the north. This is the actual track of Hurricane Blanca. Notice the hairpin turn at the bottom. This is where and when the Haarp downburst occurred that we just saw in the color picture. Now let's watch a video of Blanca and how it shot to the north just after the Haarp downburst. Note the time of the concentric Haarp rings on the color photo was June 4th, 8:29 Universal Coordinated Time. On the next video, the time when the hurricane turned to the north was June 4th, 2 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And this is actually the same time since Universal Time is about 8 hours ahead of Pacific Time. So let me show you this video here. And it is here. And this is actually from NOAA, and we can see the May 31st. This is before it formed, and we're just going to step through. June 1st, it's a tropical depression. Brown means tropical depression winds. June 1st, June 2nd, June 2nd, June 3rd, June 3rd, June 4th, 2 a.m. This Pacific, this is when that Haarp downburst happened that we saw in the colorful concentric ring photo. And what does the hurricane eye do? It moves to the northwest, and then it really picks up speed. And now it's headed off to their target zone, which was Cabo San Lucas. So starting the hurricane moving is a fairly easy thing for them to do, but then aiming it while it's on its way is very difficult. And there's an odd shot from NOAA. So they tried to aim it for Cabo, and they missed. So now we'll go back to our presentation and see. The next video shows Blanca spinning very stably until the Haarp downburst at the end of the video. The hurricane's eye blows apart like a clay pot on a potter's wheel after a lump of clay is thrown at the finished pot. There was not enough natural wind shear to blow the eye apart like this. And this one is down here. Okay, so you can't see the date, it's too small, but you can see in the early part of the video, very small, smooth eye, and then at the end it just shakes apart, kind of like, I don't know, maybe a wheel on a dragster peeling the tire off or something. But then we get, okay, June 3rd, very small focused eye, and then June 4th, you know, I can actually, let me call out when it passes June 4th, 8 a.m. Okay, so June 4th, it's going to restart here. And June 3rd, June 3rd, June 3rd, June 4th, and bang, right there is the Haarp downburst. Look how it comes apart. One more time. June 3rd, June 3rd, alright, June 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang, right there. Haarp downburst, and the eye blows apart and starts moving to the north. Amazing. Okay, whoops. Go back to here. Let's look at the actual track that Hurricane Joaquin took. We're back now in the Bahamas, in the east of Florida, in October 2015. Notice the hairpin turn to the north and how it was deliberately steered to hit the Bahamas and Bermuda while avoiding Cuba and all U.S. coastal cities. When it is steered, the track has small wiggles compared to the natural track, which is smooth with gradual turns. This is the actual track for Joaquin. Notice the hairpin turn and wiggles near the Bahamas and Bermuda. Joaquin sat over the Bahamas for 48 hours and did tremendous damage. This was a man-made disaster. The winds were 120 to 130 sustained for 2 days. Now let's watch the projected track of Hurricane Joaquin and how the predicted track had to be revised over and over to fit the hidden Wall Street agenda. This hurricane was deliberately steered to hit the Bahamas and Bermuda, and therefore the forecasters couldn't know about the ionospheric heater intervention. So now I go to my video, which I hope I have queued up somewhere. And let's see, that is this one here. Okay, so this is the predicted path. When Joaquin first formed, this is what they thought it was going to do, kind of typical of any hurricane out in that area. And as the time progressed, look what they did with the predicted path. You know, it's clear of Bermuda and it's clear of the Bahamas. But now they put a V shape in it, and the Bahamas is still thinking, oh, it's not going to hit us. But as time goes on, now they give a hurricane warning to the Bahamas, and this thing wiggles around, it slows down because of the multiple Haarp downbursts we saw earlier. Now it starts this incredible damage down there, and it sat there for 48 hours on top of the Bahamas. And you see at this point, it's still, Bermuda's still thinking, oh, it's not going to hit us. It's not going to hit us. And now look what happens as they change the forecast. It's leaving the Bahamas now. And Bermuda still thinks, oh, we're okay. But as it gets closer, more wiggles show up, and now Bermuda's thinking we're going to get a direct hit. And it gets very close, and I did see Haarp downburst on the west side here trying to push it into Bermuda, and that caused a squiggle in the path, which we already saw. And then it's done. So that was the prediction, and how can the weather forecasters predict it when it's being altered as it goes? Only one of the weather models, which is a 1990s BAMD model, predicted it would go near Bermuda, which is really odd. None of the models predicted a direct hit on the Bahamas, and yet they basically had a direct hit. It appears Bahamas and Bermuda didn't pay for hurricane weather futures contracts like the U.S. coastal cities do. U.S. coastal cities will never get hit by a hurricane because the Wall Street banks would have to pay out 9 times more than they received for the original hurricane protection contract. And only a person who already knows there won't be hurricanes would even enter into a contract like that, because the losses can be so huge. Now let's watch a satellite video showing the effect of the man-made high pressure on Hurricane Joaquin just before it hit the Bahamas. Notice there are two sets of Haarp downburst rings which happen at dusk. Actually, they both happened at dusk. So my video is here, September 30th. Again, this is about a day before it hit. And right here at the start, you see 1 and 2 banks of Haarp roll clouds. And what you see after this dry air pocket kills the storms on the south side and disrupts the eye. So then the storms on the north side become comparatively stronger, and the whole thing moves to the south. So again, at daybreak, we have 1 Haarp roll cloud, 2 Haarp roll cloud, and then this thing is moving rapidly to the south in very odd. You can see these thunderstorms. They've been suppressed, so that's why they have this blooming effect here, as this meso-complex of thunderstorms reorganizes itself, and as it turns onto the north side here, it becomes very strong. This is man-made hurricane steering. Again, Haarp roll clouds, Haarp roll clouds. Back to the presentation. Not that one. Next, an infrared image shows the temperature of the cloud tops just after the downburst on Joaquin. Notice the green tongue of warm air which shows up after the Haarp downburst is gone. This is about 1 hour after the Haarp downburst. This deep dry air destroyed the thunderstorms on the south side and strengthened the storms on the north side, which pushed the hurricane south. Warmer air mixing here stops storms on the south side, which we just saw in the video. Hurricanes are steered by changing the symmetry of the eye wall, or disrupting the eye completely actually, which contains concentric rings of powerful thunderstorms. If dry air is pressed down far enough to kill the thunderstorms on the other side grow stronger in comparison. This was the technique used to push Joaquin south onto the Bahamas. If cold dry air is pressed down to form a thin layer on top of the hurricane, convection on that side is increased and the eye of the hurricane moves away from that side. This was the technique used on Blanca to push it to the north. Another way to say it is that the shear on the top of a hurricane can be controlled by Haarp downburst technology, and wind shear is the main factor that steers a hurricane. Without a Haarp downburst, both sides are balanced, so the storm is stationary or meanders randomly around. With a shallow Haarp downburst, the storms are stronger on the left side, so the hurricane's eye moves to the right. This happened with Blanca. Convection is stronger with the cold, dry air aloft. With a deep Haarp downburst, the storms on the left are shut down, causing the right side to be stronger. The lack of balanced forces creates a movement to the left. This is how Joaquin was pushed into the Bahamas. Skeptics will ask the question, how can a few million watts control a weather system which contains the power of many atomic bombs? Answer: the ionosphere is a huge pool of stored energy. The US Navy has spent decades figuring out how to tap that energy and use it as a weather control weapon. Most of the energy used to steer these storms comes from the ionosphere itself, not from the SBX-1 or other microwave transmitters. Dr. Nick Begich says it best.
Area, and as it hits the ionosphere, it becomes concentrated. And think about that in the same way as light coming off of a laser versus light coming off of a flashlight. when you think about HARP, think about it as a mechanism on the ground that's designed to interact directly or plug into those magnetic field lines, and actually then use the environment itself as part of the machine on the ground. And think about it in this sense. Think about that machine on the ground, this field of antenna, broadcasting radio frequency as a primer, the small amount of energy, because the big energy is contained in the natural environment. The idea is if we understand enough about how these mechanisms work, then we can trigger various cascading effects where it sort of builds on the energy that's naturally in place. And so when you think about HARP, not just in the effect of magnetic field lines, but another opportunity to manipulate energetic systems within the Earth has to do with the ionosphere itself. And imagine that ionosphere is a bubble around the Earth, several hundred miles thick, again starting about 30 miles off the Earth's surface. Now, that's a highly charged area, a tremendous amount of energy potential there. In fact, some will remember a number of years ago.
So back to the presentation. Here we go. Our oceans are dying because of ozone holes created by HARP downburst technology. Each time a downburst is created, hundreds of times every day, from what I see every day on the maps, the protective ozone layer is destroyed over that area. Please watch my video, Physics of Ionospheric Heaters Killing the Pacific, to see the details. These holes allow DNA-destroying ultraviolet B to reach the surface of the ocean, where it penetrates roughly 30 feet or so, killing all plankton, which is the base of the food chain. The HARP downburst punches a hole from 30 miles up, right down pretty much near the surface, allowing that deadly UVB to reach the surface. UVB, the deadly type of UV, has increased 800% since 2002, which accounts for the rapid death of amphibians, insects, plankton, fish, trees, etc. Incidentally, that coincides with the ramp-up of this ionospheric heater technology. Our oceans are dying rapidly as a result of Wall Street bankers corrupting our military and extorting money from everyone. Our biosphere will be dead and mankind extinct in less than 100 years if this continues. Where is federal and international law enforcement? Why can these criminals continue to operate? Hundreds of times a day, the jet stream is modified by these weather weapons, making a new hole in the ozone layer each time. No one knows how long these holes will last or how harmful the vertical mixing of chemtrail aerosols into the ozone layer will be. The next slide shows the possible dead zones in the oceans as a result of US military attacks on its own citizens and on planet Earth. The black dots represent possible dead zones where plankton was killed by excess UVB. The ozone holes over the land is not shown. These HARP downburst locations are places where I personally have seen strong evidence of repeated HARP downbursts on a frequent schedule. So this is a hypothetical map, but I'm sure the reality looks very much like this, with the heaviest HARP downburst use in the Gulf of Mexico to have 100% hurricane suppression. Summary: full-blown hurricanes can now be controlled by steerable megawatt microwave transmitters run by the US Navy Missile Defense Agency. The commanders in charge of the military hardware are corrupt traitors who have been co-opted by Wall Street bankers by accepting partial ownership in weather trading LLC companies. The oceans are being rapidly killed by this fraud and racketeering. The SEC, FBI, Interpol, and the International Criminal Court should be investigating and arresting those in charge of these programs. To prevent disinfo shills from saying, the HARP at Gacona was closed years ago, I would like to offer a new name for this microwave weather weapon technology. High-altitude atmospheric regenerative microwave-induced toroid of plasma, or HARMIT. In the future, the term Haarp ozone hole, Haarp ring, or Haarp downburst will refer to this type of ionospheric heater technology, as described in this video and the physics of ionospheric heaters killing the Pacific video. The word regenerative is used to account for the energy contribution from the ionosphere itself. The established activists are not likely to adopt the term Haarp, since acknowledging this technology may threaten their dominant roles, their future donations, or their secret payments from the fossil fuel lobby. Since sincere people need to move away from the Haarp word and use a new one, suggestions are welcome. If anyone can come up with a better one, let's use it. Just as Carl Sagan's discovery of nuclear winter in the 1980s may have prevented nuclear war on a global scale, I hope this video will wake up the scientific and law enforcement communities to prevent the deliberate killing of our oceans, which is happening now on a daily basis. What you can do: research any LLC, limited liability corporation, which invests in water or weather futures, since a privately held corporation can secretly give out stock ownership to U.S. military commanders. Demand the SEC, FBI, Interpol, NATO, and ICC investigate these crimes. We, the people, must apply pressure to get the ball rolling. International scientists must investigate the increased UV over the oceans. But you can buy a UVB meter and publish a record of your own local UV levels. What you can do continued. Now that you know about this, you have a responsibility to act. Whatever legal and ethical action is in your heart, get going and find others to help you. Beware of fakes who talk a good game but never accomplish anything except getting more donations. For many ideas on what you can do, watch my video, How to Stop Chemtrails in Haarp. Thanks for watching. Now go do something. Thank you.